Do you want to know how to glue shoes? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how to do it like a pro coming up. Hi guys, thanks for joining me from my patio in Hawaii. If this video inspires you, be sure to check out the whole series of the Cobbler Masterclass. Welcome back and thanks for joining me on this Cobblers Masterclass, How to Glue Shoes. If you're new to my channel, I've done a lot of videos on gluing. As a matter of fact, I'm going to click this link right here on how to glue 4 types of shoes. In this video, we're just going to be doing these Kobe Bryant's Nikes. So I thought that'd be a great example. But in the video link, I show you 4 different types of shoes that are the main type of business that I get in my cobbling business. So if you are watching this series to do your own side gig, I'd spend some time watching those. They're really helpful. But I do cover everything in this video on how to do the basic gluing from home. I've provided a complete list of all the supplies you see here down in the description below. You can also check my Amazon shopping cart where you see all of the products listed by category. This is nice because this sandpaper is just really easy. It's taking most of the surface glue right off. This glue is just so old. It gets dry and kind of, dusty and flaky, and that's what happens if you don't clean it up. Then it won't give a good surface for the new glue. So that's good, but I think I like to get into these corners with the Dremel. So here we go. Okay, very good. So that's nice, gets those corners nice and cleaned up. And I'm going to do the same thing on here. I can tell there's hardly any glue on this. So actually this brush is nice too. Just cleaning it up so nicely. And I'm also just getting the real edges because that's where the fine detailing comes in when you're at the end, being able to get those to glue nice and make a nice seal on the shoe. So that's great. And then I will also do this one. Use the sandpaper on that. Wow, these Kobe Bryant shoes are so cool. I mean, when you look at all the different types of sneakers out there and then you come up to something like this that's quite unique, especially these features like this, it's pretty fun and pretty special. I think this client's excited to get these back. I get a lot of Air Jordans as far as the Nike brands go. I don't know if that's just because there's more of them out there, people buy those more, but this is pretty fun to be able to see this. So this looks pretty good. I am going to just do a little bit more in here because I want to make sure I have a good seal on it. then the last part to check is this. And this is where a lot of the problems can arise, which is, you know, typically it's because the shoe is not real leather. So it's paint on fabric, and that paint dries out just like glue does. But the paint deteriorates, and so it doesn't have any, these two parts don't have anything to hold on to. So you have to get the paint off. That doesn't happen to be the case so much here, but I can tell it's old dry glue, so we definitely need to get that off of here. So I'm very careful just to look around here, and of course I'm also going to be very careful that I stay right within the lines so I don't ruin, you know, the color or anything like that. These are very expensive shoes. But I'm going to do it with my, I'm going to use my hand paper instead of using the Dremel, because the Dremel, unless you're used to it, can kind of get away from you, so you have to, you know what you're doing. Yeah, this is great. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this piece here, and I'm going to go ahead, and even though I'm going to put it together while it's wet, because it's so tricky and unique where it sits, and I'll show you. So we'll do that, and then I'll let that cure while I work on the other parts. So for that, I like to use this, my glue gun, and I'll just go ahead. I'm going to get all the edges so that I don't have any little spots left over. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And I can see exactly where it goes. So I'm going to do that now, very lightly. When I do the big gluing spots, I'll go ahead and put my mask on. And I also find that if you're just more careful on the application of the glue, then you don't have a lot of cleanup work after. Boy, it can just really be so irritating to have to clean up a bunch of glue spills, and it's just super hard to do. So I'd rather just do it right. And that's why this little device gives me lots of control. Talk about working from home. This is exciting. Now I'll go ahead and carefully put that on. There we go. And then if you have any glue spills, do it while it's wet. There we go. Same here. And I'm going to let this rest just like that. And it's okay if it kind of separates a little bit, because once I've given it a good 15-20 minutes, I'll go ahead and really press that together, especially before I put these parts of the shoe on. I'm applying a fairly thin layer of glue and being sure to do a cross pattern with it. I go one way and then cross over it going another direction. It just makes sure that you cover all the areas. You want to be careful in these areas around the edges there, because if you have too much glue, when it's time to put the two pieces together, it won't form a nice tight seal because there's too much glue in there, especially when it's dry. Awesome, we're done. Now I'm actually assembling these two parts together while they're wet. And that's primarily because the edges come up around each other like that. And it's hard to put those together when they're dry. They stick on the way. So you want to squeeze them together, make sure the glue is all over the place, and you'll be good to go when you come back in 20 minutes. I had put these pieces together when they were wet, which was nice. So now I'm just doing the extra little pushing, and because it's dried, it's tacky. That's how that gets the name, contact cement. So assembling this is like putting together a puzzle. You know generally where the pieces go, but when you want to be super accurate so you don't have to come back and move it around, because these pieces of this puzzle fit together perfectly. These edges are important too. Make sure there's a really good seal around them. Now that we've assembled, let's glue our next two layers together. These two parts are going to go together wet, again, because the edges come up around each other. So time is kind of the essence. It's this step that's the most important, really. You want to squish the sides together and make sure you don't have too much excess, like you'll see right here. I want to get that off now while it's wet. It's easier than once it dries. We were so accurate putting on the glue. We want to be just as accurate when we're attaching the two parts together. Sometimes the spot gluing kind of breaks open the original glue, but not by much, and it's always worth doing the spot gluing. This is the third time spot gluing. We're on the last day of these sneakers, and I can tell they're giving me a little trouble here in the toes. And so those will be the spots that I'll finish up with some super glue, like right there. But everything else seems to really be holding quite nicely. So we'll just go around a couple of those spots here. I'm going to break up these big clumps of glue before I put my new glue on it, otherwise it won't stick. I'm using this Gorilla Glue super glue. I've tried a bunch of them, and this seems to be the one that does the best. I'll actually, a little trick is to blow on the glue before you squish it together and hold it in place, and it gives it some pre-drying time. I'm glad to say we're done. This is the last spot. I'll get this little spot here, but we can call it done. Hey, looks good if you ask me. Remember, you support me by shopping my Amazon shopping cart where I have all the supplies available. Remember to subscribe or share this video or give it a big thumbs up. Aloha. Wow. That is thunder. Woo, talk about working from home. This is exciting.